All right, this is decimals, fractions, and percents. We're going to learn how to go from decimals to fractions, decimals to percents, and so on and so forth. So I've broken it down into each different category. So this first one is going to be changing fractions to decimals. So the way we do that, it says right here, step one, you're just going to divide. So we're going to look at the first one. Number one, it says 1/5. Now, to divide, you're going to have to show your long division because we do not have calculators. You're going to tip the fraction over. The one's going to fall onto the inside. Now, 5 does not go into 1, so we need to add a decimal place and a 0. Now, 5 does go into 10 twice. When you subtract, you get 0. So 1/5 would be 0.2. All right, number 2, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to tip the fraction over and divide. Now, 5 goes into 8 once. Bring down the 0. 5 goes into 36 times. So my answer is 1.6. Now, this makes sense that it's more than 1 because it's an improper fraction. All right, number 2, we're going to tip the fraction over and divide. 3 doesn't go into 2, but it goes into 26 times, which is 18. When you subtract, you get 2. You're going to bring down a 0. 3 goes into 26 times. Bring down a 0. And you're going to notice that it's going to start repeating. So we use the repeating symbol, which is just bar notation, 0.6 repeating. All right, number 4 is a mixed number. That 4, we don't have to do anything with it. That just tells us that's the whole number. So what we have to do is find out what 1/8 is as a decimal. So I'm going to tip the fraction over to divide. 8 goes into 10 twice. I'm sorry, 8 goes into 10 once. You're probably thinking, no, it doesn't. All right, 8 goes into 10 once. Subtract, you get 2, bring down the 0. 8 goes into 20 twice, which is 16. 8 goes into 45 times. So this answer would be 4.125 because the decimal of 1/8 is 1.125. All right, next section. We're going to change fractions to percents. Now, we've already learned how to change them to decimals by dividing. Now, there's one more step. All we have to do is move that decimal 2 places to the right. So let's tip the fraction over to divide first. 6 goes into 10 once. You're going to subtract. You get 4. Bring down a 0. 6 goes into 46 times. Subtract. Bring down a 0. I'm going to move this up so you can see it. All right, now 6 goes into 46 times, and you're going to notice that we're going to start repeating here. So we're just going to use the repeating symbol, but just over the 6, not the 1. It's just the 6 that is repeating. Now, actually, I don't know why I put that on the answer blank because that's not my answer. So if this is my decimal form, I'm going to move it over twice to the right, which would give me 16.6 repeating percent. That would be your percentage after you move it over twice. All right, let's try number 2. We're going to tip the fraction over. 5 goes into 24 times. So our decimal is 0.4. Move it over twice and you get 40%. All right, number 3. Tip the fraction over and divide. So 6 goes into 15 twice. Subtract, you get 3. We're going to add a decimal place and a 0. 6 goes into 35 times. So we have 2.5. Move it over twice to the right to give you 250%. Now that makes sense that it's more than 100% because it's an improper fraction. All right, we know that 1/2 is 0.5, so 3.5. Move it over twice, and that gives you 350%. All right, let's go to the next page. Now let's change decimals to percent. So we've already done this. We already found the decimals in the last section. So just move it over 2 places to the right and add a percent sign. Now this one has a repeating symbol. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend it a little to give me room to move the decimal place. So if I move it over twice now, I get 33.3 repeating percent. 0.8, move it over twice and you get 80%. Move it over twice and you get 125%. All right, next section, we're going to change from decimals to fractions. Now this, it says place the decimal over its place value and then simplify. So since 5 is in the hundredths place value, we're going to put 25 over 100 and we're going to reduce. Now each of these numbers, 25 goes into that. So 25 divided by 25 is 1. 100 divided by 25 is 4. Number 2, you're going to take that number and place it over 100 since the 7 is in the hundredths place value. And that actually does not reduce. So that is in lowest terms. Now the 8 is in the tenths place value. So we're going to put 8 over 10 and then reduce. 8 and 10 are both even. So you can divide both by 2 to get 4/5. Now last one. 1 is the whole number. So we're going to write that as 1. 25 would be, or 0.25 would be 25 over 100, which would be 1 1/4. Or you could technically just say that that is 5/4. Either one would work for me. All right, and the last section on this page, we're going to change from percents to fractions. So it says that we are going to place the percent over 100 and then simplify. So percent means over 100. So 35% means 35 over 100. Now 5 goes into both of these, which would be 7 and 20. So that would be your reduced fraction. All right, next one is 0.8%. So it would be 0.8 over 100. Now I can't have a decimal in a fraction, so I'm going to move it over. And if I do that, I have to move it over on the bottom as well. So I get 8 over 1,000. 2 goes into both, so that would be 4 over 500. 2 goes into both of those, which would be 2 over 250. All right, 250% would be 250 over 100. Now, this is a mixed number, an improper fraction, so we can make it a mixed number. 100 goes into 250 twice with 50 left over. Now that reduces. 50 over 100 is 1/2. Last one, 43% is 43 over 100. That does not reduce, so that is your final answer. All right, last section. This time we're going to be changing percent to decimals. So we're going to go just the opposite way, and we're going to move it 2 places to the left, and we're going to drop the percent sign. So that would be 0.35. Same thing from number 2. Move it over twice, and you get 0.008. The decimals at the end, move it over twice, and you get 2.5. And the last one you get is 0.43. All right, go ahead and try the homework for this section, and we can go over that in class tomorrow.